Hi students, welcome to lesson 5 is Sociology a Science? Introduction. The emergence of sociology was the result of multiple diversified factors like French Revolution, Industrial Revolution and period of enlightenment, etc. Since its emergence, there has been constant debate whether sociology is a science or not. Interestingly, this debate led to different viewpoints. One school of thought believes that sociology is a science because sociology adopts and applies the scientific method. The founding fathers of sociology, 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 and others have contributed to this view. For instance, 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 opines, like other natural sciences, sociology is also governed by some natural laws. The other school of thought opines, sociology is not a science. German sociologist Max Weber does not accept sociology as a science. It is important to understand that if sociology is a science, then to what extent it conforms to the notion of science. After completion of this lesson, you will be able to understand the meaning and features of science, analyze whether sociology is a science or not. Meaning and characteristics of science. Science is a body of systematic knowledge. Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of structure and behavior of physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Science is a branch of knowledge or study dealing with a body of facts or truths systematically arranged and showing the operation of general laws. Science is systematized knowledge derived from observation, study and experimentation. Scientific knowledge can be tested, verified or proved. The important characteristics of science are: science is based on reason and evidences and adopts scientific method. Science collects facts and links them together in their causal sequence to draw valid inferences. Science reflects features of objectivity, observation, accurate prediction, experimentation, accurate measurement, generalization and cause-effect relationships. Objectivity is the ability to accept facts as they are. Biases, beliefs, wishes, values, preferences, subjective considerations and prejudices have to be avoided. Scientific knowledge is based on verifiable evidence, that is, concrete factual observations, so that other observers can observe, weigh or measure the same phenomena and check out observation for accuracy. Science is ethically neutral. It only seeks knowledge, and how this has to be used is determined by societal values. A scientific research adopts sequential procedure and organized plan or design of research for collecting and analysis of facts about the problem under study. The research design includes formulation of hypothesis, collection of facts, analysis of facts, classification, coding and tabulation, and scientific generalizations and prediction. Reliability, validity, predictability and accuracy are also significant features of science. Sociology is a science. There are various factors which focus on scientific aspect of sociology. Some of them are discussed below. Sociology adopts scientific method. Sociology studies social events by adopting scientific method. Though it cannot do experiment with men in a laboratory, still man's social behavior is subject to scientific investigation like natural phenomenon. It employs scientific methods as scales of sociometry schedule, case study, interview and questionnaire, which is used to quantitatively measure social phenomenon. Sociology adopts and applies the scientific method. Founding fathers of sociology like August Comte, Emile Durkheim, Karl Marx support this view. Sociology also traces cause-effect relationship and can make predictions. Sociology traces cause-effect relationship in studying any social phenomenon. On the basis of cause-effect relationship, sociology can predict about future. Sociology makes observation and measurement. Observation is possible in the field of sociology even if it does not possess a laboratory. Observation is also possible outside the laboratory. The whole social world is the laboratory of sociology. It has been asserted that Newton did not invent their laws inside a laboratory. Sociology makes observation of social phenomenon. Sociology, like natural sciences, also accurately measures social phenomena or relationships. By using statistical method, sociometric scale, scales of measurement, sociology effectively and accurately measures social relationships. Hence, sociology is a science. Objectivity is possible in sociology. Objectivity means being factual. The term objective has been applied to modes of inquiry and methods of data analysis. Objective in this sense assumes that some approaches are not dependent on the subjective consciousness of the researcher. Like natural sciences, sociology also makes objective study. Sociology can also make objective study of social phenomena. New techniques and methods are also introduced to make social phenomena more objective. Sociology makes generalization. Generalization is a general statement or concept obtained by inference from specific cases. The notion that generalization drawn by social sciences is not universal is not completely right. Like natural sciences, sociology can draw generalizations which are universally applicable. Some of the thinkers who strongly propose sociology as a science are Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer and Emile Durkheim. Auguste Comte, regarded as the first philosopher of science and father of sociology, says that method to study about society must be scientific and not based on theological thought. He believes if method is scientific, the sociological research and study becomes factual and based on reality. The structure of a society and its change can be studied through this method. He proposed the principle of positivism, which suggests that all knowledge comes from positive information of observable experience. Scientific methods are the best way of achieving this. Positivism seeks empirical regularities, which are correlations between two variables. This allows laws to be defined and predictions made. Further, positivism asserts that the logic of inquiry is identical across all branches of science. The goal of inquiry is to explain, predict and discover. Research should be observed empirically with human senses. Positivism also maintains that science is not the same as common sense and it should be judged by logic and remain free of values. Comte was primarily interested in establishing theories that he could test with the main goal of improving our world. He wanted to uncover natural laws that could be applied to society. He believed that natural sciences like biology and physics were a stepping stone in the development of social science. He believed that just as gravity is a truth in physical world, similar universal laws could be discovered in relation to society. Comte, along with Emile Durkheim, wanted to create a distinct new field with its own group of scientific facts. He hoped that sociology would become the queen science, one that was more important than the natural sciences that preceded it. Positivism asserts that the logic of inquiry is identical across all branches of science. The goal of inquiry is to explain, predict and discover, and research should be observed empirically with human senses. Positivism also maintains that science is not the same as common sense and it should be judged by logic and remain free of values. Auguste Comte felt that an examination of several established sciences showed not only that human thoughts in general have passed through three stages, that is theological, metaphysical and scientific or positive stage, but also each subject has developed in the same way, that is each subject has evolved from a general simple level to a highly complex level. He put forth a hierarchical arrangement of the sciences in a way which coincided with the order of their historical emergence and development, the order of dependence upon each other. Each rests on the one which precedes it and prepares the way for the one that follows it. Their decreasing degree of generality and increasing degree of complexity of their subject matter and the increasing degree of modifiability of the facts which they study. Thus, the final arrangement of the sciences in terms of their emergence and complexity on this basis were mathematics, chemistry, astronomy, physics, biology, sociology and finally morals, by which Comte really meant a study of human beings as individuals, a study which followed sociology and was a mixture of psychology and ethics. Sociology was the most complex science because it had to study the most complex matter, that is society. Sociology therefore also arose much later than other sciences. The object of study of other subjects was relatively simpler than sociology. Sociology thus emerged because human beings recognized a new set of objective facts concerning their society, such as social disorganization, development of slums, poverty, etc., which they could not explain, but which they needed to explain in order to deal effectively with them. When Auguste Comte spoke of sociology as the crowning edifice of the hierarchy of sciences, he had the general unifying nature of science in mind. He was not claiming any superior status for sociology. He only felt that with the growth of positive knowledge, all sciences can be brought into relationship with each other. According to Auguste Comte, all sciences pass through the three stages, the theological, the metaphysical and finally the positive stage. But the earlier sociology, individual sciences do not move through these three stages simultaneously. In fact, the higher a science stands in the hierarchy, the later it shifts from one stage to another. Within the growth of positive knowledge, he also advocated the use of positive methods for sociology. The pioneering English sociologist Herbert Spencer believed that society was governed by laws in much the same way that the physical world was. He regarded philosophy as the synthesis of all sciences and the replacement of religion, and saw the history of human societies as a development from military to industrial societies. Spencer was an early advocate of evolution of species, which he initially explained as the consequence of inheritance of acquired traits. After the publication of Charles Darwin's Origin of Species in 1859, Spencer accepted Darwin's explanation of natural selection and coined the phrase survival of the fittest. Spencer tried to apply the concept of evolution to society. He developed an analogy between animal organisms with human societies. Though during his lifetime, Herbert Spencer used to be considered as one of the founding fathers who shaped the emergence of sociology as a distinctive scientific discipline. According to him, the social process is unique, and so sociology as a science must explain the present state of society by explaining the initial stages of evolution and applying to them the laws of evolution. Thus, the evolutionary doctrine is central to his thesis. Auguste Comte and Herbert Spencer both succeeded in raising the status of sociology to that of a science of society. Durkheim, the French sociologist, saw sociology as the study of social facts. According to him, sociologists should study social facts in as much the same way that chemists study chemical facts and biologists study the biological facts. For Durkheim, the goal of sociology was to discover the laws that govern social behavior, just as Newton had discovered the laws that govern planetary behavior. Durkheim played an important part in bringing scientific approach to the study of society. Durkheim considered social sciences to be distinct from natural sciences because social sciences deal with human relationships. However, the method used in the natural sciences could be used in social sciences as well. He was concerned with examining the nature of sociology as a social science distinct from philosophy and psychology. Philosophy is concerned with ideas and conceptions, whereas science is concerned with objective realities. In his book Montesquieu and Rousseau, published in 1892, Durkheim laid down the general conditions for the establishment of a social science which also apply to sociology. Some of them are: science is not coextensive with human knowledge or thought. Not every type of question the mind can formulate can be tested by science. It is possible for something to be the object of the philosopher or artist and not necessarily the stuff of science at all. Thus, science deals with a specified area or a subject matter of its own, not with total knowledge. Science must have a definite field to explore. Science is concerned with the things and objective realities. For social science to exist, it must have definite subject matter. Philosophers, Durkheim points out, things are laws, traditions, religion, and so on. However, the reality of these is mostly influenced by the manifestations of human will. Inquiry is thus concentrated on the internal will rather than upon external bodies of data. So, it is important to look things as they appear in this world. Social science, which classifies various human societies, describes the normal form of social life in each type of society for the simple reason that it describes the type itself. Whatever pertains to the type is normal, and whatever is normal is healthy. The subject matter of a science yields general principles or laws. If societies were not subject to regularities, no social science would be possible. Durkheim further points out that since the principle that all phenomena of universe are closely interrelated has been found to be true in the other domains of nature, it is also valid for human societies. which are part of nature. In putting forth the idea that there is continuity of natural and social worlds, Durkheim has been strongly influenced by Comte. Although there is continuity between the natural and social worlds, the social is as distinctive and autonomous a sphere of subject matter as either the biological or physical. Durkheim was very much against the view held by some scholars that everything in society should be reduced to human preference. Categories of human will and desire belong to psychology. If social science is really to exist, societies must be assumed to have a certain nature which results from the nature and arrangement of the elements composing them. Finally, to differentiate the uniformities, types and laws of society, we need a method. The method of science applicable in the field of natural sciences are valid within the social field. Durkheim based his scientific vision of sociology on the fundamental principle, that is, the objective reality of social facts. Social fact is that way of acting, thinking or feeling, etc., which is more or less general in a given society. Durkheim treated social facts as things. Durkheim describes the method to study sociology. His sociological method rests firmly on the experience of biology, which had emerged by then as the science of living beings. While studying social facts as things, the following three rules have to be followed in order to be objective. All preconceptions must be eradicated. Sociologists must separate themselves from the commonplace ideas that dominate the mind of layperson and adopt an emotionally neutral attitude towards what they set out to investigate. Secondly, sociologists have to formulate the concepts precisely. At the outset of the research, the sociologists are likely to have very little knowledge of the phenomenon in question. Therefore, they must proceed by conceptualizing their subject matter in terms of those properties which are external enough to be observed. Thirdly, when sociologists undertake the investigation of some order of social facts, they must consider them from an aspect that is independent of their individual manifestations. The objectivity of social facts depends on their being separated from individual facts which express them. Social facts provide a common standard for the members of the society. Social facts exist in the form of legal rules, moral regulations, proverbs, social conventions, etc. It is these that sociologists must study to gain an understanding of social life. The comparative method is the very framework of the science of society for Durkheim. According to Durkheim, comparative sociology is not a particular branch of sociology, it is sociology itself, insofar as it ceases to be purely descriptive and aspires to account for fact. Since sociologists normally do not conduct laboratory controlled experiments, but study reported facts or go to field and observe social facts which have been spontaneously produced, they use the method of indirect experiment or comparative method. According to Auguste Comte and Durkheim, sociology is a science because it adopts and applies the scientific method. Sociology makes use of scientific methods in the study of its subject matter. Sociology must be an independent science according to Durkheim. It must have a field of its own, that is social facts, and it must contain within itself its own principle of explanation, that is, social facts must be explained sociologically in terms of other social facts. sociology is not a science. The two virtues of natural laws are precision and generality of scope. The sociological laws lack these virtues. Lack of objectivity. Sociology cannot be called a science because it cannot maintain complete objectivity with social phenomena. Sociologist as a human element has his or her own prejudice and bias. Thus, absolute objectivity is difficult. Moreover, sociology deals with social relationships which cannot be studied like physical objects. Hence, complete objectivity is not possible in sociology. Lack of experimentation. Sociology deals with human relationships and interactions which cannot be put to laboratory test. We can't see or weigh human relationship because it is abstract in nature. Experimenting with abstract entities is not possible. Lack of prediction. Sociology cannot make accurate predictions like natural sciences. Sociology deals with social relationships and human behavior which are peculiar, and thus making exact predictions is not possible. The pace of human behavior and social change cannot be exactly predicted. Lack of accurate measurement. There are definite standards of measurement in natural sciences to measure phenomena like weight, temperature, pressure, etc. Sociology can't make accurate measurements like natural sciences since the content of sociology does not facilitate exact measurement. In sociology, exact measuring instruments or mechanisms is not available. Besides, sociology deals with social relationships which are qualitative in nature. In the process of quantifying such indicators, the actual essence may be lost. Lack of generalization. Sociology can't make generalizations like natural sciences which is universally applicable. Sociology deals with human behavior, society and culture which vary spatially and temporally. Hence, the conclusions drawn by sociology can't be uniform or universally applicable. Social phenomena is so complex and complicated and is governed by so many factors that it is very difficult to draw a conclusion which can be universally applicable. Some of the sociologists opine that sociology is not a science. According to German sociologist Max Weber, following the natural sciences model would leave sociological work incomplete. He thinks that human beings have important qualities that set them apart from the objects of the investigation of natural sciences. Weber thus believes that sociology must go beyond the natural science model and be an interpretative science. Weber interestingly defines sociology in terms of interpretation of social action. According to Weber, differences between the natural and social sciences are due to the intentions, interests and aims of investigator and are not due to the subject matter of human action. Weber was concerned with the debate concerning science and history and attempted to establish a foundation for sociology. While sociology must be concerned with empirical analysis of society and history, the method of sociology would have to be different from that of the natural sciences. Sociological analysis would have to examine social action within a context of social interaction and would have to be interpretive, not viewing people as object just driven by impersonal forces. Max Weber believed that the purpose of political and social institutions is the development of autonomous free personality. Weber believes that collectivity does not have any life to think, feel or perceive. The basic unit of a social structure is social action. The concern of sociology is to understand the meanings associated with the action of the actor than mechanically studying action and its consequence using the methods of natural science. Sociology being concerned with problem of understanding, Weber introduces 𝗧𝗧𝗧 method in sociology. 𝗧𝗧𝗧 is a German term that means to understand, perceive, know and comprehend the nature and significance of a phenomenon. Giddens, a British sociologist, thinks studying human beings, however, is different from observing events in the physical world, and sociology should not be seen directly like a natural science. Unlike natural scientists, sociologists have to interpret a social world which is already interpreted by the actors that inhabit it. Sociology deals with a factually observable subject matter, depends upon empirical research and involves attempts to formulate theories and generalizations that will make a sense of facts. But human beings are not the same as material objects in nature. Studying our own behavior is necessarily entirely different in some very important ways from studying the natural phenomena. Giddens says that we cannot approach society or social facts as we do objects or events in the natural world, because societies only exist in so far as they are created and recreated in our own actions as human beings. Human activities are not determined by causes in the same way as natural events are. Thus, the practical implications of sociology are not directly parallel to the technological uses of science and cannot be. Kuhn, an American philosopher, is known for his concept of paradigm. He mentions two kinds of sciences, normal and extraordinary science. He thinks disciplines like sociology did not have a well established set of theories or a proper methodology like the natural science so as to be called a normal science. As such, Kuhn argues that sociology is not a mainstream science because it has not found a unifying paradigm. A paradigm in the context of theory and research is a particular and accepted set of thoughts and assumptions about the way things are and the way research should be done. Sociologists do not share a set of assumptions about the world or about how to do research. There are functionalists and Marxists, there are positivists and interpretivists. He concludes then that sociology is a young science, but that it could in the future blend around one paradigm and become a science. However, it is a concept of science that differs significantly from that of positivist sociologists. Sociology, a social science. An objective science of society is not possible, maintaining that sociology can never be free from ideology. An increasing number of sociologists argue that a value-free science of society is not possible. Robert Bierstedt, in his book The Social Order 1963, clearly explains the nature of sociology in the following way. Sociology is a social and not a natural science. Sociology is a positive and not a normative science. Sociology is a pure science and not an applied science. Sociology is an abstract science and not a concrete science. Sociology is a generalizing science and not a particularizing science. Sociology is both a rational and an empirical science. Sociology is a science sui generis, that is, which generates itself, that which exists by itself, that which does not depend upon some other being for its origin or existence. Durkheim considered society as sui generis. It is always present and has no point of origin. It cannot be an exact science like physics, chemistry, etc. Sociology is a social science and not a natural science. It can claim to being called a science because it employs scientific method. In sociology, nothing is assumed and nothing is taken for granted. Research, inquiry and observation is fully drawn upon. There are sophisticated methods which have been developed and followed. The debate whether sociology is a science or not has benefited sociology. According to Good and Hatt, this debate has given rise to a higher level of methodological sophistication and consequently greater precision in sociological research than were known before. Its scientific character has come all the more to be recognized. Early sociological studies considered the field of sociology to be similar to the natural sciences like physics or biology. As a result, many researchers argued that the methodology used in the natural sciences was perfectly suited for use in the social sciences. The effect of employing the scientific method and stressing empiricism was the distinction of sociology from theology, philosophy and metaphysics. This also resulted in sociology being recognized as an empirical science. In the attempt to study human behavior using scientific and empirical principles, sociologists always encounter dilemmas, as humans do not always operate predictably according to natural laws. Hence, even as Durkheim and Marx formulated law-like models of the transition from pre-industrial to industrial societies, Weber was interested in seemingly irrational ideas and values which, in his view, also contributed to the transition. Sociology as social science occupies a middle position between the evidence-based natural sciences and the interpretive inclination of humanities. Since its emergence, there has been constant debate whether sociology is a science or not. Interestingly, this debate led to different viewpoints. One school of thought believes that sociology is a science because sociology adopts and applies the scientific method. Founding fathers of sociology, Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer, Emile Durkheim and others have contributed to this view. For instance, Auguste Comte opines, like other natural sciences, sociology also is governed by some natural laws. The other school of thought opines sociology is not a science. German sociologist Max Weber does not accept sociology as a science. It is important to understand that if sociology is a science, then to what extent it conforms to the notion of science. Durkheim considered society as sui generis. It is always present and has no point of origin. It cannot be an exact science like physics, chemistry, etc. Sociology is a social science and not a natural science. It can claim to being called a science because it employs scientific method.